So, gender issues and labor. Gender equality is the heart of ILO's Decent Work agenda, the aim of which is to promote opportunities for women and men to obtain decent and productive work in conditions of freedom, equity, security, and human dignity. So, ILO's work is pertaining to the equality of men and women to acquire decent work or jobs. Ang pinatutungkulan ng pag-aaral daw ni ILO ay mga patungkol sa pagkakaroon ng pagkakapantay-pantay ng mga lalaki, mga kalalakihan, kababaihan para makahanap ng disenteng trabaho at disenteng kita. The aim of ILO's Decent Work agenda is for all workers sa lahat ng manggagawa, babae o lalaki, are to benefit for more decent jobs and income. Papatungkol daw umano ang pag-aaral ni ILO sa mga kalalakihan, kababaihan na makahanap ng disenteng trabaho at kita. True decent work could only be assured in a society that would allow labor markets to provide equal opportunities and equitable living incomes to various social groups, regardless of personal attributes, be they biological, social, religious, or political. Makakamtan lang daw umano ang totoong disenteng trabaho o magkakaroon lamang daw ng disenteng trabaho ang bawat isa sa isang komunidad na nagbibigay ng pantay ng pagkilala, nagbibigay ng pantay na karapatan, anumang estado ng buhay mo, saan ka mang grupo na bibilang, anumang reliyong kinabibilangan mo, at kung anumang politikal na partido sa iyong sinusuportahan. Sumunod, moving on. The Magna Carta of Women, enacted in 2009, is comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women by recognizing, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting the rights of Filipino women, especially those in marginalized sector. Ang Magna Carta umano, ang Magna Carta of Women na pinasa noong taong 2009 ay isang batas na naghahanap umano or kumikilala para matapos na ang diskriminasyon, para rin upang kilalanin ang karapatan ng mga kababaihan, upang maprotektahan ang karapatan ng mga kababaihan, at pagbibigay umano ng pagbibigay ng equal rights or pantay na karapatan sa mga kababaihan at kalalakihan. Kabilang na rin yung mga kababaihang nasa marginalized sector. So this act recognizes that equality of men and women entails the abolition of unequal structures and practices that perpetuate discrimination and inequality. In connection with employment, the Philippine Commission on Women indicate that the Magna Carta of Women will level the playing field by making productive resources and economic opportunities equally available for men and women. So, ang Philippine Commission on pertains that the Magna Carta for Women made the resources and everything equally. The Philippine Commission on Women made the rights for women equal to those of men. Going on, stereotyping is prevalent in Filipino customs and traditions, where children, as they grow up, the society dictates to do some specific task. For example, girls are assigned to perform household chores like helping their mother in cooking, washing dishes, and cleaning the house. So, laganap nga daw umano ang stereotyping sa kulturang Pilipino. Yes, totoo nga yan. In fact, nag-provide nga ng isang halimbawa dito na kapag ang babae lumalaki, binibigyan siya ng mga task or mga gawain na para lamang sa mga babae. Pinapasama siya sa kanyang nanay upang matuto ng mga gawain bahay tulad ng paglilinis, paglalaba, pagluluto, wherein sa mga kalalakihan naman, they are expected to help their father in fetching water, repairing things, in which dito nakikita din yung stereotyping sa mga kalalakihan, kung saan ang mga kalalakihan ay pinapasama sa kanilang mga tatay o kung sino mang masculine image sa kanilang pamilya, for example sa kanilang tito, lolo o ano paman. So kita yan, bumabakat yan dito sa ating kultura, the stereotyping within men and women. So, and since women are expected to take care of the family, their education is less priority. Yes, sad to say na makikita yan dito sa ating bansa na women are less prioritized in terms of education this past years or decades or so. So, maganda naman na nakikita na this past years medyo may equality na nakikita for women to have or attain the equal rights in having education na tinatamasa ng mga kalalakihan. So, moving on, men are often sent to school while women are expected to take care of their young siblings. So, sa pamilya, mas pinapriority umano ang lalaki sa pag-aaral, wherein yung mga kababaihan umano sa pamilya ay iniiwan lamang sa pamilya upang mag-alaga ng mas nakababata nilang kapatid, which as far as I observe, hindi naman na ganun ka-observe dito sa ating bansa. Going on, men and women should give equal opportunity to learn and perform different skills based on their ability and best to grow. So moving on, men and women should be given equal opportunity to learn and perform different skills based on their ability and interest to grow. So, every single individual, babae or lalaki man, must be given the equal rights for them to flourish, in order for them to become productive, and it all must be based on their interest to grow, kung paano man nila nakikita yung sarili nila sa hinaharap. So men and women should have the rights in order for them to choose their own path. So household task is not merely responsibility of women, but the entire family members. Yes, it is also a kind of stereotype that ang mga kababaihan ang dapat mag-alaga sa buong pamilya, which is not true, but also about the entire family must be the one that will be held responsible to tend or to take care of the household. The idea of no one must left behind must be adopted in order to have a just and equal society. Ang pagkilala umano sa mga kakayahan or karapatan ng bawat isa sa kababaihan man or kalalakihan must be recognized. Dapat kilalanin ang karapatan ng bawat isa para magkaroon ng isang just or just and equal na society. So moving on, we are now in the employment sector. So first is agriculture. Here in the Philippines, women are still longly tied to their traditional roles as mother, wife, and housekeeper. Yes, here in the Philippines, dito sa Pilipinas, mas binibigyang tuon ang mga kababaihan, mas kinikilala sila sa pagiging nanay, sa pagiging tagapag-alaga ng buong pamilya, which is strongly observed in our modern society nowadays. In agriculture activities, their primary task is to prepare food to be brought to the field during mealtime, or sometimes engage in planting rice, but women farmers do not have the equal opportunity to acquire land registered to their own names. So, makikita mo dito na ang mga magulang or ang mga kababaihan daw ay may layaman silang makapagsaka din tulad ng kanilang mga asawa or mga kalalakihan. Wala umanong binibigay sa kanilang karapatan upang mangangkin or mag-acquire, magkaroon ng sariling lupa na pangalan umano ng pangalan nila ang nakalagay dun sa land title. They have fewer inheritance rights. Unti umano ang kanilang karapatan upang magmana ng mga ari-arian, kasama na ang lupain. Land ownership are important not only to women's ability to earn income, but also as a source of empowerment and autonomy within the household. Their lack of land also affects their ability to gain credit facilities. So makikita umano ang inequality pagdating sa agrikultura, sektor ng agrikultura, sapagkat ang mga babaihan ay less fortunate or hindi sila nabibigyang karapatan para magkaroon ng sariling lupa, unlike sa mga kalalakihan. So sumunod naman ay sa sektor ng industriya at paggawa or industry and manufacturing. The number of women working in economic zone is estimated to represent 64%. So 64 na bahagdan umano ang kumakatawan sa mga kababaihan sa paggawa or sa puwersa ng paggawa or manufacturing, or even sa economic zones such as electronics. So kabilang ang industriya ng electronics sa mga may malalaking bilang or porsyento ng mga kababaihang nagtatrabaho. According yan sa World Bank sa taong 2011. Women share employment in the export processing zone than women's share of the labor force as a whole, and the conditions of employment are of concern. So maraming nga daw kababaihan ang mga nandito nasa ganitong sektor, ngunit nakababahala umano kung paano ang kondisyon ng kanilang pagtatrabaho, kondisyon ng kanilang employment, or kung ano man ang kondisyon nila as a whole sa field na kanilang pinagtatrabahuhan. So sumunod tayo, moving on, is sa sangay naman ng turismo or tourism. It appears that tourism planning has not included women or has had insufficient rise for the gender issues. With the tourism industry, relatively few women have the educational qualifications or foreign language skills to compete for front of house positions in the hotel industry, as tour guides, or in travel agencies, and women are more likely to be employed housekeepers, waitresses, similar low-level positions. So, pinapakita ko man dito ang mga kababaihan daw sa sangay or sa turismo ay mayroong mababang karamihan sa kanila ay may mga mababang uri ng trabaho, such as ang pagkakasambahay or paglilinis ng mga resort, sabihin na natin gano'n, pag-waitress at ibang mas mababang uri pa ng posisyon. Ngunit sa panahon ngayon, nakikita natin na ang kababaihan humano ang siyang frontliner pagdating sa sangay ng turismo, sapagkat nakikita dito sa ating bansa na marami sa ating mga kababaihan ang mga tour guides. Marami din sa ating mga kababaihan ang sila mismo ang nagpapatakbo ng ilang mga bibigatin, mga malalaking resorts dito sa Pilipinas. Karamihan din sa mga kababaihan dito sa Pilipinas ang siyang mga advocates. Sila rin ang taga-promote. Women are also the main promoters of tourism in our country. So those contradicts, 'di ba? Sumasalungat naman yung nakikita kong mga pagbabago or equality umano ng pagbibigay ng trabaho or karapatan ng mga kababaihang makapagtrabaho sa sangay ng turismo. Dito naman tayo sa business processing outsourcing. The Philippines Information Technology Business Process Outsourcing Roadmap 2011 to 2016 is not gender responsive and does not address women's constraints in assessing higher paid work in non-voice services or the likely growth in information technology and engineering. These matters, as well as the pay differentials between men and women and employment conditions, require specific government attention. So dito umano sa sangay ng business processing and outsourcing, dito umano nagkakaroon ng pagpalag ang mga kababaihan sapagkat karamihan umano sa mga napipili sa gantong uri ng trabaho ay mga kalalakihan at ang mga kababaihan ay nabibigyan ng mas maliit ng nabibigyan naman ng kababayan ng mas maliit na pagtingin or qualifications pagdating dito sa gantong uri ng trabaho. So these matters, as well as the pay differentials between men and women. So isa umano itong concern para sa pamahalaan sapagkat nagkakaroon ng mas malaking agwat ang mga sweldo ng kalalakihan at kababaihan sa gantong sangay. So moving on is government services, mga serbisyo publiko mula sa gobyerno. Public sector employment is an important source of jobs with better pay conditions for women than many other industrial sectors. But women are constrained by being predominantly employed in traditional gender stereotype care sector government occupations such as health and education, and they are unrepresented in the higher paying subsectors. So nakikita umano daw ang pagkakaroon ng mga kababaihan, ang presensya ng kababaihan or pantay na presensya ng kababaihan pagdating sa sektor ng serbisyo publiko mula sa gobyerno. Ngunit mas nakikita umano mga kababaihan sa gantong uri ng trabaho sa mga mas hindi kinikilala or hindi nakikitang mga sangay tulad ng sangay ng edukasyon at sangay ng kalusugan. Kumbaga nagkakaroon na naman ng stereotyping sapagkat ang mga gantong uri ng sangay ay para sa kababaihan. At hindi umano nakikita ang mga kababaihan sa pagkakaroon ng mas matataas na sahod mula sa mas matataas na sangay ng gobyerno. So the Philippines has strong gender mainstream programs which has given women greater access to government and employment generally, but to women in the civil sector may still underpaid. So mababa pa rin umano ang kanilang sweldo given their levels of education, experience, and ability. So meron daw umanong mga kababaihan sa gantong sangay or sa gantong trabaho, ngunit mababa pa rin daw ang kanilang sweldo kahit na mataas ang kanilang kwalifikasyon, mataas ang kanilang levels of education, ang kanilang mga kakayahan at kanilang mga experience, which is yung mga crucial para sa pag-apply ng trabaho. So even though women have those credentials, hindi umano daw sila napupunta sa mas mataas na pwesto sa gobyerno, at they face some difficulties such as underpaid. So moving on, we are now the condition of women in the field of entrepreneurship. There has been a rapid surge in the number and proportion of female entrepreneurs in developing countries. Studies indicate that female-led MSMEs increases employment opportunities for women and contribute to wider development goals. So, in the field of entrepreneurship, dumadami umano ang mga kababaihan sa gantong sa pagbi-business. Dumadami ang bilang ng mga kababaihang nalilink sa mga business. For example, sa larangan ng cosmetics, nauna ang mga kababaihan, sa mga jewelry. For example is Kyla with her works, just like making necklace and more. So doon, by means of those entrepreneurs, na-empower yung women in terms of business, and also it contributes in the development of the country itself. So one survey indicated that women entrepreneurs are more likely than to be motivated by necessity. These are livelihood-oriented entrepreneurs attempting to unemployment. So, ang mga kababayang umano nalilink sa pagbibusiness are motivated by necessity. So, we are now taking or tackling the labor laws that protect women in the workplace. So, number one is the Philippines has ratified 34 ILO conventions and is partly to all of the fundamental United Nations human rights covenants and conventions. The country's 1987 constitution has enshrined these rights in Section 3, Article 8 by the Bill of Rights, and Section 14, Article 2, which ensures fundamental equality of women and men before the law. The next is the Article 3, Chapter 1 of the Labor Code, as well as Republic Acts 6725, 7192, 7877, and 8551. And these laws all provide for fundamental human rights protection, including anti-discrimination, harassment, and temporary special measures. And also, in number 4 is Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 7877 of February 8, 1995 is an example of a good legislative practice. So, anti-sexual harassment bill is very important for the women in the workplace, because nowadays many women suffer from sexual harassment, not even hindi lang sa kanilang hindi lang sa school, hindi lang sa lansangan, hindi lang sa kanilang paaralan, hindi lang sa kanilang tahanan, maski pa na rin pati na rin sa field of sa kanilang piniling workplace or sa kanilang respective workplace, talamak talaga yung mga manyak at rapist. So, anti-sexual harassment is a good law in order to protect our women on their workplace. And also, all of these labor laws is very important. It plays a major role. So, these laws are a necessity for the women para maging mas produktibo sila sa kanilang trabaho, and also for them para maramdaman nila na they have the equal rights, just like what men have. So, number 5 is also the Magna Carta of Women, also the Republic Act number 9710 is an overall legislative framework that articulates the specific rights, needs, and support required by women in their general and working lives. Although the Magna Carta of Women provides a good legislative framework, implementation issues still remain. Filipino women often do not know about the rights, and the complaint system is confusing even if they do. So number 6 is in the year 2012, the Philippines became the first country in Asia to ratify the ILO's DOMS Workers Convention, and in early 2013, President Aquino also signed a new Republic Act 10361 known as the Batas Kasambahay or the Domestic Workers Act in order to better protect this large group of mostly young female workers.